Experience divine restoration. 7 miraculous steps to supernatural sleep and total body relaxation. Louise often sat at the edge of her bed, fingers trembling as she clutched her Bible, darkness swirling around her like the city's pervasive din. In that chaotic urban parish, where life buzzed at a relentless pace, she yearned for the divine whispers of faith to pierce through her restless nights. The weight of her responsibilities, 3 children, work, and a home that never seemed to be fully in order pressed down on her. But hope flickered like a candle in her heart, and that light guided her to the church just as the golden rays of sunset began to fade into twilight. The retreat buzzed with energy, an invitation to encounter the sacred. Flickering candles cast dancing shadows across the walls, and the sound of joyful hymns rose like incense to the heavens. As the pastor shared his prophetic message about finding rest in God, Louise felt the chains of worry begin to loosen. Break the chains through prayer, he urged. Invoke the intercession of Saint Clare, our family's beloved patron saint. The words wrapped around her, a warm embrace that set her spirit alight. Returning home, she gathered her children, her heart pounding with anticipation. Tonight, we pray, she declared, her voice tinged with urgency. They formed a circle, hands clasped, and she felt the presence of the divine spark in that moment. With each prayer, peace began to tiptoe closer, wrapping around their hearts like a soothing balm, and a glimmer of hope returned. But just as the dawn began to break, so too did tragedy. Her husband fell gravely ill, and the laughter that had filled their home turned to whispers of fear. Night after night, anxiety settled in with her as heavy as lead. Heartbroken questions surged within her. Where is God in this suffering? Why is peace so elusive? Despite her heartache, their faith community enveloped her with love. They huddled together for prayer, igniting an unexpected spirit of purposeful intercession. Louise felt warmth wash over her as the collective pleas formed a heavenly crescendo, reminding her of the miraculous possibility that awaited. Yet, with every flicker of hope came the cold grip of despair. In a moment of vulnerability, she resorted to medication, seeking solace from her restless nights. But the darkness only deepened, threatening to swallow her whole. Just when all hope felt lost, a mysterious stranger appeared in the hospital corridor, a humble woman with a radiant smile and eyes sparkling with divine knowledge. Trust the plan that is unfolding, she said softly, and the truth echoed in Louise's heart like a ringing bell. It sparked a fire in her soul, reminding her of the divine restoration she had been seeking. She rushed back to prayer, her family encircling her, a tapestry of love woven tightly with faith. In that sacred space, miracles nestled around them. As they called on Saint Clare, something shifted in the air. Heavenly light filled the room, hope flooded their hearts, and her husband's condition began to stabilize. Waves of relaxation surged through Louise, as if God himself had wrapped her in a blanket of peace. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as joy began to seep back into their lives, new questions unfurled in the quiet corners of Louise's heart. What did it mean to truly surrender? Was their healing merely a glimpse of a greater journey God was unveiling? The community stood still, anticipating the next chapter, as Louise wrestled with the understanding that faith demanded a continual dance of trust, beckoning her to lean deeper into God's grace. The journey, it seemed, was just beginning. The sun rose, casting soft golden rays through the curtains, filling the room with warmth and light. Louise sat in the quiet of her kitchen, a steaming cup of tea cradled between her hands. It was comforting, but her mind was a swirling tempest. She recalled the stranger's words, so simple yet profound. Trust the plan that is unfolding. Her heart whispered back, a gentle nudge that perhaps, just perhaps, there was more to discover. With her husband on the mend, she felt hope creeping in, but doubts lingered like shadows in her mind. How could she nurture that spark of faith further? Louise sensed that this was an invitation into deeper faith, a call to explore the path ahead. The children buzzed around her like blooming flowers, full of energy and laughter. She watched them, marveling at their resilience. Each joyful giggle made her heart swell. She felt a wave of gratitude wash over her, a refreshing burst that reminded her of the beauty amid struggles. "I'll let them inspire me," she thought. They were living reminders of God's promise and love. "Let's South go to the park," she announced, a sudden burst of excitement carrying her voice. The children cheered, their joy contagious. As they ran and played, Louise indulged in a sweet serenade of their laughter, each sound a melody of grace. She closed her eyes, inhaling the fresh air with intent. The city felt alive, joyful, and behind her closed eyelids, she could almost feel God's love wrapping around her, bosom deep and warm. Back at home, as twilight descended, Louise gathered her little ones again. Tonight would be different. This wasn't just about asking for healing anymore, it was about thanking God for what had been given and what was to come. Together they bowed their heads in humble gratitude. "Thank you, God, for making Daddy strong again, for our family, for our laughter." The simple prayers flowed, full of childlike sincerity, weaving together the desires and hopes of their hearts. As they finished, a silence enveloped them, thick and holy. Louise opened her eyes to see the candlelight flickering gently. In that space, something shifted. It was a sacred moment, like a sacred whisper beckoning her to see beyond her immediate surroundings. "Mommy," whispered her youngest, bringing her back to the present, "can we say a prayer for the lady in the hospital?" Louise's heart touched, realizing her child's empathy. "Of course, sweetheart. Let us pray together." They held hands again, voices small yet powerful, lifted up in unity for someone else in need. The act transformed Louise, illuminating the larger tapestry of life. It reminded her that her struggles were part of a greater story, that surrender wasn't about giving up but about being part of something more significant than herself. The mystery of faith had layers yet unexplored, beckoning her further into divine restoration. As the approach of sleep lingered on the horizon once again, Louise's heart brimmed with hope. What could God do with their prayers? What other doors would open through trust? But just as uncertainty vibes danced in the air, an unexpected text arrived on her phone. It was a message from her husband, thanking her for being a pillar of faith. It made her heart leap, hinting at deeper revelations yet to come. What was the next step on this extraordinary journey? With renewed vigor and faith aflame, Louise pondered her next move, humbly questioning what God would reveal next. The night lingered with anticipation. Morning broke again, bathing the kitchen in a soft, welcoming glow. Louise's heart fluttered with anticipation. Last night's prayer had been a turning point, an awakening of sorts. She felt as if she was standing at the threshold of something wonderful, the air thick with possibility. As she prepared breakfast, the familiar clinking of utensils and bubbling of oatmeal filled the room. Her children were a tempest of energy, their laughter a sweet reminder of the joy that intertwined with faith. They squealed as they rushed to their seats, eager to start the day. "Good morning, my little blessings," Louise said, her voice bright and full of love. Each face, glowing with curiosity, turned to her, and she couldn't help but smile. As they ate, Louise's thoughts wandered back to the lady in the hospital. That simple act of prayer had awakened in her a desire to do more. She felt God calling her to serve, to step beyond her comforts. Tossing glances at her children, she wished to instill in them the importance of love and empathy. "Kids," she began, heart racing as if she was about to unveil a grand secret. "What do you think about visiting the hospital and bringing some cheerful snacks to our friend there?" Their eyes widened, the thrill of a new adventure gleaming in them. "Can we bring cookies?" her youngest piped up eagerly. "Of course. We can bake the best cookies ever." Louise laughed, feeling a warm wave of excitement wash over her. It felt right. They formed a plan amidst giggles and shouts of encouragement, a beautiful melody of response to God's gentle guidance. After breakfast, flour dust filled the kitchen as they mixed ingredients, laughter echoing off the walls, the warm scent of vanilla and chocolate wafting through the air. Each cookie was a prayer, a sprinkle of hope, a dash of love. Louise felt joy blossom in her chest as her children poured their hearts into every spoonful of dough, their mission of love summoned courage. Later that afternoon, standing in front of the hospital, Louise took a deep breath, grounding herself. She held her children's hands tightly, sensing the weight of anticipation balanced with compassion. As they stepped through the doors of healing, a sense of purpose enveloped them. The sterile smell mixed with the lingering sweetness of cookies, filling the air with warmth. Smiles and encouragement flooded her spirit, reminding her of the beautiful, darting threads of connection among them all. They found the ladies' room, and Louise's heart swelled as her children timidly walked in, holding their tray of cookies. "We brought these for you," her youngest exclaimed, his face lighting up with a pure joy she wished every person could feel. The lady's eyes sparkled with surprise leading to gratitude. "Oh, how lovely! Thank you, dear ones," she replied, her voice tremulous yet filled with hope. A lightness settled in Louise's heart, and in whispered laughter, they all chatted for a while. In that soft and holy space, Louise felt the profound truth that they were part of something larger than themselves. As they left the hospital, an inexplicable sense of peace wrapped around her like a warm cloak. She understood now the significance of trust and surrender in action. Each good deed, each prayer shared, wove them closer to God's heart. Back at home, Louise found herself reflecting on the day, questioning what hidden miracles lingered just beyond their reach. What would God do next? That evening, as her children drifted to sleep, she prepared her heart for what lay ahead. Each prayer, a whisper of faith, each act, an invitation to explore deeper truths. With renewed wonder, she opened her journal, pen in hand, eager to document the unfolding story. What would come next in this grand tapestry of divine love? The pages were turning, and she sensed the exhilarating crescendo of God's plan was just beginning. The morning light danced softly through the curtains, heralding a new day full of potential. Louise stirred from her dreams, her heart still fluttering with the remnants of last night's joy. It was a new dawn, a day to embrace the unknown with faith and courage. As she moved around the kitchen, preparing breakfast, the gentle hum of her family enveloped her like a warm embrace. The children, still sleepy but full of life, greeted her with sleepy smiles that turned into laughter as they anticipated the day ahead. "Can we bake more cookies today?" the youngest squealed, his eyes shining with hope. The thought sent a thrill through Louise's heart. "Yes. Let us bake a whole batch for the hospital again." The moment she spoke those words, she felt a surge of purpose within her. Each cookie they baked together would be another expression of love, each bite a reminder of their shared faith. As they mixed and measured, the kitchen was filled with giggles and light-hearted discussions about flavors and decorations. "Let us make a card, too," her daughter proposed, her creativity bubbling over. "We can write something nice for our friend." Louise beamed. This was more than just baking, it was about planting seeds of love and faith in her children's hearts. The act of giving was unfolding beautiful lessons in kindness and service that she hoped would grow with them. Once again, they found themselves at the hospital, each step echoing their excitement to lift another's spirit. With the tray of cookies in hand and a card colored in bright hues, they strolled the familiar hallway and found the lady in her room. "Surprise!" they chimed in unison, the bright energy of their visit lighting up the room instantly. The lady, her expression a blend of shock and joy, could hardly contain her glee. "You came back," she exclaimed, tears lining her eyes. "This is the best surprise." In that moment, Louise felt the gravity of their mission. These weren't just cookies or an occasional visit, they were threads of hope interwoven into the fabric of her community. As they shared in laughter, stories, and warmth, Louise realized that in every small act, God was weaving something extraordinary. After bidding the lady farewell, her heart was a potpourri of emotions. She turned to her children. "Did you see how happy she was? That's the power of kindness. God is smiling on us." As they walked back to the car, something shifted inside Louise. She sensed a calling deep within her. It grew stronger, a quiet whisper urging her to share her faith openly, to allow her light to shine brighter in a world often clouded by shadows. That day at dinner, as they broke bread together, Louise felt led to share her thoughts. What if we started a kindness club at school? The idea hung in the air, electric. The table fell silent, her children's eyes wide with wonder. Would we really get to help more people? Her eldest asked, a sense of possibility blooming in her voice. Absolutely. We could gather food for families in need, make cards for those who are lonely. She was taken by the vision unfurling before her. She felt God's gentle leading in every word, every desire shaping within her heart. As they went to bed that night, her heart pulsed with excitement. What if this was just the beginning? What other impacts could their small family make in the world around them? Louise lay awake, anticipation swirling through her. She whispered her prayers, her heart brimming with wonder. The journey of faith was beckoning her deeper, and she longed to explore it all. But little did she know, a challenge lay ahead, a challenge that would stretch her faith like never before. What would her family discover in their unwavering pursuit of love? What awaited them on this path of kindness? Perhaps, the real question was, would they be ready to embrace it? The morning sun poured into Louise's room, igniting her spirit as she prepared for the day. Enthusiasm bubbled within her, fueled by the possibility of starting their kindness club. She could hardly contain the excitement as she moved through their home, each room stirring memories of the warmth they had created together. At breakfast, the children were chattering away. The aroma of pancakes wafted tantalizingly in the air, mixing with the scent of hope that lingered after their visit to the hospital. Louise set plates before them, casting loving glances as they dug in. Mom! Can we invite our friends to join the kindness club too? Her daughter asked, mouth full of fluffy pancake. Absolutely. Louise responded, a feeling of joy flooding her heart. The vision of a community united in purpose bloomed before her. Imagine the impact we can have together. With each passing moment, the idea felt more like a divine calling than just a passing thought. It wasn't only about the cookies they baked or the cards they drew anymore, it was about igniting a movement of compassion, a ripple effect that would reach far beyond their home. After breakfast, Louise gathered her children. They spread a large piece of paper across the dining table and began brainstorming ideas for their kindness club. Each suggestion was met with shouts of excitement, as the children fought to add their thoughts, scribbling furiously with colorful markers. Let us help the elderly with their groceries, suggested the youngest, passion shining in his eyes. What about making blanket drives for the homeless? Mused her daughter, glancing up from her crafts. Louise felt her heart swell with pride. These small seeds of compassion were growing, nurtured by pure intentions. Every idea was a brushstroke on the canvas of their mission, vibrant and alive, reflecting God's love. Later, as they headed to school, Louise's mind buzzed with anticipation. She could see the smiles on her children's faces as they shared their excitement with friends. These precious moments felt sacred, like the dawn of a significant shift in their lives. Let us meet after school, and I'll share our idea with my friends, her eldest exclaimed. Louise smiled, matching her enthusiasm, knowing the importance of this next step. But as they made their way through the school gates, unease suddenly tightened her chest. Thoughts of what if crept in. What if no one was interested? What if their ideas seemed foolish? The shadows of doubt hung like a veil over her heart, muffling the vibrant light of her conviction. Mom, you okay? Her daughter asked, catching the flicker of anxiety that passed across Louise's face. Taking a deep breath, she forced a smile and replied, I'm just thinking about how this will all unfold. It was the truth but also a reminder to herself to trust in God's plan. After dropping the children off, she sat in her car, hands gripping the steering wheel. A sudden wave of peace washed over her as she closed her eyes, whispering a prayer. Lord, I place this in your hands. Show me what you want us to do. Moments later, a familiar voice broke through the silence, startling her. Wearing a gentle smile, her friend Sarah appeared by the window. "Hey, is everything all right? You look deep in thought." Louise rolled down the window, her heart warmed by Sarah's presence. They often shared faith and reassurance, and in that moment, it felt like a divine appointment. She explained her vision for the Kindness Club, unfolding each layer of her dream. Sarah listened intently, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "This is beautiful, Louise. You're going to ignite a fire of kindness. Let us plan a meeting after school, and I'll bring some friends too." As they spoke, Louise felt the doubt slip away, replaced by a radiant hope. God was paving the way for their mission, and she was not alone on this journey. That night, as Louise tucked her children into bed, the atmosphere shifted. Each hug held a promise of adventure, closeness, and new possibilities. She realized that what started as a simple act of kindness had morphed into something deeper. But just as she was about to breathe easy, a new wave of doubt washed over her. What would they face together when the world's challenges came knocking? The anticipation hung in the air, heavy but laced with excitement. With her heart aligned to a higher calling, Louise whispered her goodnights and left the room, fully aware that a beautiful story of divine purpose was unfolding. What awaited them on this journey? And how would they respond to the challenges set before them? The sun had barely begun to peek over the horizon when Louise awoke the next morning, the thrill of the previous day lingering in her heart like a sweet melody. She felt a sense of purpose like never before. Each thought was a step towards something greater. Today was the day they would share their Kindness Club idea with others. Though a hint of nerves fluttered in her stomach, she clung tightly to the promise of hope. After a brisk morning routine, she prepared a simple breakfast, her mind racing with thoughts of how to present the club to the children's friends. Louise felt a pull to start their day with a prayer. "Lord, guide our words and actions today. Let your love spill over as we share this vision." When the kids joined her at the table, the air buzzed with excitement. Over breakfast, she shared her heart, igniting their enthusiasm further. Imagine a gathering where every child can share their ideas, feel valued, and make a difference. Their faces lit up, and laughter filled the kitchen. Each child chimed in, picturing a world transformed by their small acts. The sweetness of their camaraderie swirled around her like a warm embrace. What a beautiful picture of God's family. Once they finished eating, Louise quickly gathered the materials she had prepared, colorful flyers inviting their friends to the meeting, a poster showcasing their ideas, and a warm smile ready to draw others in. Together, they strolled to the school filled with hope. Each step felt like a journey of faith. Moments passed, but as the school bell rang, Louise hesitated. What if their friends didn't show? What if their club's message fell flat? The what-ifs came creeping back, threatening the sunlight that filled her heart. Gathering herself, she closed her eyes briefly and whispered, "Lord, help me trust you." The classroom began to fill up and soon, children began to gather around, curious about what Louise and her children were up to. The excitement in the room was almost tangible. Sarah arrived shortly after, her spirit as fiery as ever. "All right, everyone," Louise called, her voice ringing with the sincerity of her heart. "We have something special to share with you all today." She could see the apprehension in some faces but pressed on. With her children beside her, they presented their ideas, each suggestion met with a chorus of laughter and cheers. When they spoke of helping the elderly or making blankets, the room grew alive with suggestions and excitement. Louise felt a warm glow ignite within her, as ideas flowed like a rushing river through their community, yet, even in that joyous moment, a whisper of doubt tugged at her mind. Were they truly making a difference? Would these efforts spark lasting change? Those questions gnawed at her heart, and she had to pause, recalling the prayer she had said earlier. As she looked into the eager faces of those around her, she understood, it wasn't about perfection but the willingness to leap in faith. It was about planting seeds of kindness, no matter how small. And often, it was within those small acts that God's love shone the brightest. The day turned into a whirlwind of plans and inspiration, with discussions expanding into laughter-filled games, compassionate activities, and promise-filled projects. Hearts and minds danced together under the glimmer of hope driven by God's love, but what would happen tomorrow, when doubts crept back in, uninvited? Would they be ready for the challenges this kindness club would inevitably face? Louise wasn't sure, but as she tucked her children into bed that night, she felt a gentle whisper urging her to surrender and continue moving forward. It felt like faith was calling her, a divine mystery yet to unfold. What trials would lie ahead? And within those trials, what strength would they discover waiting on the other side? Morning light streamed through the window, casting soft rays across the room. Louise stirred awake, feeling a new wave of determination wrap around her heart. Today was not just another day, it was a chance to nurture the seeds they planted. She quickly prepared breakfast, her hands moving almost on autopilot while her mind swirled with excitement. Her children awoke one by one, their sleepy faces brightening with the memory of yesterday's joy. Their chatter filled the kitchen as they gathered around the table, ready for another day of sharing kindness. Louise smiled, grateful for the laughter and joy emanating from her little ones, a reflection of the goodness she hoped to see in their community. Today, let us think of one kind act we can do at school, she suggested over their morning meal. The children's eyes sparkled with ideas. I want to help the little kids at recess, Jonah exclaimed, grinning widely. What if we make them cards? Sarah chimed in, her enthusiasm infectious. Louise felt her heart swell with gratitude. Each child was ready to step into kindness, and that alone was a beautiful miracle. I love those ideas. Let us combine them and encourage everyone to join. After breakfast, they gathered their supplies and left for school once more, their spirits high. The whispers of doubt were still lurking, not fully silenced, and Louise needed to seal her heart with a prayer. Lord, let our actions today be a reflection of your love. Help us spread joy and warmth, planting seeds everywhere we go. As they ventured into the schoolyard, a buzz of energy surrounded them. Children ran about, laughter echoing in the crisp air. Louise spotted familiar faces, each one holding the promise of connection and collaboration. She took a deep breath, clinging to the hope that they could create something meaningful together. Let us share our kindness ideas. Who wants to join us? She called out, her voice steady. A small group gathered, drawn by her infectious enthusiasm. They formed a circle, eyes wide as Louise explained the Kindness Club's vision. The buzz around them grew as children began to gather, some surprised, others intrigued. Each suggestion sparked yet another, weaving a tapestry of creativity that showcased their beautiful hearts. Can we start a kindness day where we surprise the old folks at the center? One child asked. Yes. We could bake cookies or sing with them. Another added, feeling empowered. Louise was amazed this passion was contagious. She watched as each child expressed their ideas, building upon one another's thoughts like a growing flame. It was holy chaos, an orchestra of kindness playing out before her eyes, and within it, she felt God's presence wrap around them like a warm hug. Yet, the darker shadows of doubt crept back in, reminding her of potential obstacles. This joy was raw and beautiful, but how long would it last? Louise searched the bright faces before her, knowing, deep down, that their imperfections would not diminish their mission. Together, they could encourage each other and tackle any challenges ahead. As lunchtime approached, Louise directed the kids towards a quieter nook under a tree, feeling the need for a moment of reflection. Let us pray, she suggested. Gathering in a circle, they bowed their heads, hearts seeking divine guidance. Lord, bless our ideas, our efforts, and the friendships we're building. Let kindness pour through us like a river. Amen. When they opened their eyes, the sun seemed to shine even brighter, illuminating the path ahead. What awaited them now was a mystery yet to be revealed. As they laughed and shared, another thought danced through Louise's mind. What if this was just the beginning? What if their kindness spread far beyond their expectations? With renewed faith, Louise couldn't help but wonder, what divine adventures might unfold from this day of goodness. As the children burst into laughter, the sounds mingling with the gentle rustling of the leaves above, Louise felt her heart swell. This was a moment pure and simple, crafted by their efforts and guided by a higher love. Her prayer felt answered, uplifting them into a realm where dreams of transformation were possible, yet, something deeper stirred within her. Louise realized the beauty of shared moments wasn't just in the acts of kindness but in the bonds they were forging. The children animatedly discussed their plans, and her heart thrummed with excitement. With each idea, they painted a brighter picture of what their kindness could mean to the community. But beneath that joy remained the hint of uncertainty, perhaps even fear of resistance. Shaking off those thoughts, she reminded herself of God's guiding hand, always present in the midst of challenges. They were on a path chosen together, a divine path even if it hadn't yet fully revealed itself. Let us divide into groups, she proposed, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. One group can start on those cards, while the other bakes cookies. The children nodded eagerly, their excitement contagious. Each group dispersed with purpose, their laughter echoing through the schoolyard, sweet like music. Louise watched them cherish the simple acts of creation, hearts alight with the thrill of giving. She joined the card-making group, guiding their hands as they crafted messages filled with encouragement and warmth. Remember, words have power, she said. Let us make sure they uplift and inspire. Like magic. Jonah agreed, eyes wide as he considered the impact of their words. Exactly. Louise chuckled, feeling a deep-seated joy growing within her. Yet, as they shared stories and ideas, a moment of silence fell among the children, their focus shifting toward a group of older kids lingering nearby. They looked disinterested, perhaps even skeptical of the younger one's enthusiasm. Louise's heart sank momentarily. Doubts whispered to her again, what if they didn't understand? What if their kindness was rejected? But in that silence, something shifted. One of the older children, a girl named Mia, stepped closer with her arms crossed. What is going on here? She asked, her tone a mix of curiosity and skepticism. We're spreading kindness. Sarah piped up, her little voice trembling but bold. We're making cards for the old folks' home. Want to join us? There was a pause, and Louise held her breath. Mia glanced at her friends, searching for their reactions, before her expression softened. I don't know, but that does sound kinda nice. In that instant, Louise felt the atmosphere change. The air crackled with hope, and what once felt like a daunting challenge transformed into a divine moment of connection. How about this? If you help us, we can include you in our surprise. The small crowd of younger children rallied behind her words, and slowly, the older kids stepped forward. It was as if the barriers were dissolving, the hesitations washed away gently by curiosity and the lure of something beautiful. The rest of the afternoon melted into an easy flow of creativity. Laughter blended with the rhythmic sound of cookie dough being stirred, and the older kids shared their own stories about the elderly, igniting a new fire of commitment. Louise stood back, marveling. They had transformed doubt into collaboration, and suspicion into warmth. The seeds they planted began to sprout not just within the community but within each heart exchanged in this holy space. That as the sun began its descent, Louise felt a stirring, a whisper calling her to engage deeper with this newfound energy. In her heart, she felt anticipation for what lay ahead. What if this is just the beginning of something greater? What miracles awaited them as they prepared to unveil their acts of kindness? There, amid piles of cards and trays of cookies, another question lingered, a divine curiosity echoing in her chest. Would their kindness create ripples that reached beyond their imagination? As the late afternoon shadows stretched long across the playground, Louise felt a sense of urgency within her spirit. The warmth of the sun began to fade, yet the light from their gathering flickered on with growing intensity. Her heart raced with excitement at the thought of what was emerging through the hands and voices of these children. They weren't just making cards and baking cookies, they were weaving threads of purpose into the fabric of their community. Let us sing while we work, Jonah suggested, breaking the last remnants of silence. His enthusiasm caught on like wildfire, and soon a melody filled the air, interlacing with their laughter and the smell of sweet dough. Louise felt the music wrap around them, a blanket of peace and joy resting upon their shoulders. But there was still a nagging thought at the edge of her mind, that uncertainty about tomorrow. What if all this effort faded into nothing? What if the people they sought to uplift merely smiled but didn't truly feel their kindness? Those doubts lurked, but their music chased them away. As they sang, Louise glanced over to Mia, who sat quietly to the side. She had joined the group but seemed in deep thought. Her brow furrowed, and Louise noticed her tapping her fingers nervously against her knee. Louise approached her gently, kneeling so they were eye level. "Mia, you've been so quiet. Is everything okay?" she asked, her voice soft and full of concern. "I just think this is really great, but do you think they'll like it?" Mia's eyes flickered toward the younger children, who were completely absorbed in their project. Louise smiled warmly, knowing she needed to nurture what could blossom into a deeper understanding for Mia and the others. "I believe they will love it, Mia. It's not just about the cards or cookies. It's the love we put into them that counts. It's about showing we care." Mia nodded slowly, the tension in her shoulders easing just a bit. Suddenly, she looked up, and Louise could see resolve start to form in her eyes. "I want to write a special message on my card. Something that even makes me feel better too." With that, the barriers started to melt even further. Louise noticed how the group of older kids began to share their own stories, reflections of their lives that seemed to connect them all in prayerful unity. Louise felt the stirring of something bigger. Hope flowed through the air like a sweet fragrance, bringing together even the most distant of hearts. As they continued to create, she wondered if perhaps this was the very essence of their endeavor to uplift not just others but themselves as well. Soon, the cards became more than just colorful pieces of paper, they transformed into symbols of friendship, gratitude, and love that transcended age and background. Each child poured their heart into the sketches and notes, responsible for brightening lives almost as if they anticipated the adventures that awaited beyond the moment. The sun began to dip low, casting a golden glow across their gathering. Louise glanced at the sky, feeling the weight of the day's work settle around her like a soft embrace. She marveled at the unity, the sacred purpose they built. If they could share such kindness here, what might they inspire in the broader world outside this playground? Then, just as she was about to invite the children to start wrapping up their day, a sudden thought flashed through her mind. What if our act of kindness today is the stone that sends out ripples into a sea of change? What if we extend this beyond ourselves? With that thought, Louise turned back to the children, her heart racing with excitement. How would they respond? Would they see that the seeds they had planted today could grow into something that transformed not just their community but also their lives? Ready to do something big? She asked, feeling a sense of divine anticipation bubbling within her. What awaited them on the other side of courage? Would they open their hearts to a vision of kindness that stretched far beyond mere acts? As they gathered closer, a chorus of eager voices responded, building a fervor that felt almost palpable. Louise smiled. Here, in this sacred space, the questions lingered like a sacred whisper, waiting for a divine response. What would tomorrow unfold, and how far could their kindness reach in the tapestry of life? The dawn broke gently, painting the world outside with hues of gold and pink, each soft ray a promise of what was to come. Louise inhaled deeply, the scent of hope filling her lungs as she stood at the breakfast table, filled with freshly baked cookies and brightly colored cards. This day was more than just a continuation of their kindness mission, it was the next step in a divine adventure, an opportunity to spread the seeds of love that had begun to bloom. As the children scurried in, their faces lit with joyful anticipation, Louise felt their shared energy spark life in her heart. Today is the day we take our kindness club to the next level, she announced, her voice shimmering with excitement. The children erupted into cheers, tossing their cereal-laden spoons aside as they huddled together, ready to share their plans. What if we visit 3 different places today? Sarah suggested, her eyes alight. We can share our cookies with the elderly, drop off some cards at the hospital, and even surprise the community center. The suggestion ignited a fire in the room, each idea sparking another, creating a whirlwind of inspiration. With their purpose clear, they gathered their supplies, Louise enveloping them in a prayer of gratitude. Lord, protect our hearts and guide us as we express your love today. Let our smiles and kindness uplift those we meet. As they ventured out, the energy bubbled over. It felt like embarking on a holy quest, and with each step, Louise could sense the spirit surrounding them, guiding their intentions. First, they arrived at the senior center, the scent of flowers greeting them as they entered. Their presence was met with smiles. Both young and old were intertwined in this shared moment. When they presented the cookies, exclamations of delight echoed through the room. Laughter spilled out like music, rising high above the mundane. Louise observed as her children began to engage with the residents, playing games, and sharing stories. With warmth enveloping them, Louise marveled at the transformation unfolding. Acts of kindness weren't just gestures, they were lifelines prompting others to reconnect with joy, even through the veil of loneliness. As she watched the tender exchanges, her heart swelled. This wasn't just about giving, it was about being the hands and feet of Jesus in their community. After heartfelt farewells, they moved on to the hospital. Louise's heart raced as they approached the door. Here's where we can really make a difference. She encouraged her children. Inside, they could feel the heaviness in the air, a stark contrast to the joy they had just shared. Gathering around a familiar room, they placed their colorful cards on the trays and shared their cookies with patience. The impact was immediate, laughter danced with the tears, and smiles broke through the sadness. One kind elderly man, with eyes glistening, whispered to Louise, "Thank you for reminding us we are still loved." Tears threatened to spill from Louise's eyes, emotions swirling in her chest as she recognized the potent power of their presence. It was more than cookies, it was the divine connection flowing through them, the affirmation that abandonment was not part of God's plan. Back outside, the sun warmed their faces as they approached the community center. There, they had the chance to plant another seed. Louise led her children in creating a beautiful poster sharing their goals, reminding everyone that kindness could ripple into every corner of the world. As locals entered and saw the vibrant displays of love, more hearts joined in, eager to participate. The moment felt monumental, and Louise beamed with pride. They were setting a fire that could blaze uncontrollably, igniting others to share their love and compassion in turn. As twilight descended upon their day, Louise gathered her children, who were now tired but exuberant. "Today, we made a real difference," she said, her heart overflowing with gratitude. Every small act had woven a thread into the fabric of their community. Louise had opened her heart to trust in God's plan, and in doing so, had invited her family into a mission greater than themselves. Tonight, as they cuddled up together, recounting stories of laughter and connection, Louise felt an indescribable peace wash over her. This was the divine restoration she had longed for. Her faith had birthed not just a kindness club, but a movement echoing through lives touched, hearts healed, and love multiplied. "Tomorrow," she murmured, "we'll keep going, won't we?" "Yes." The children cheered, their voices a chorus of commitment bouncing off the walls. In her heart, she knew this was just the beginning. They had unlocked something beautiful, a light that would continue shining, illuminating paths for others to follow. Louise smiled, her spirit soaring, for when a family dares to dream in faith, the miracles are only just beginning. This was their testimony, the foundation of something monumental, an invitation to the world that kindness small and vibrant could change everything. Now, dear friends, if you've been touched by this story in your heart, don't let it pass without action. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you won't miss any more exclusive faith stories and the miracles still to come. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm and help spread these messages of hope. Leave a comment with your reactions and testimonies. Let's hear how God is moving in your life. And don't wait even one more second to share this message. Send this video to at least 5 friends who need to witness this beautiful manifestation of divine love. Stand up and be a true servant in God's name. Your voice matters.